The instant she stepped inside, a scent hit me, piercing, wrong, and completely out of place. It wasn't the familiar floral trace she always wore, the one that lingered like a soft echo long after she left the room. This was something else, something personal. It was my cologne, the one I'd worn for years, now clinging to her skin like a silent accusation. Welcome back. I managed, each word dragging out like glass in my throat. How was the trip, Sarah? Her grin was all wrong. Too wide, too forced, stretched like a mask over something fragile beneath. It was incredible, she chirped, her voice just a little too upbeat. We had the best time. You wouldn't believe it. She dropped her weekend bag to the floor with a weighty thud, louder than necessary, echoing off walls that had once felt warm and full of memories. That so-called girls' weekend had always sat uneasily in my mind. The hushed late-night phone calls, the deliberate way she angled her screen away from me, the subtle shift in her tone when I asked harmless questions. It had all stacked up quietly, piece by piece. And now, my cologne clinging to her body, our shared space defiled by the scent of someone else, was the last puzzle piece sliding into place with a gut-wrenching certainty. I kept my face steady, though it felt like the effort might split me open. Glad to hear it. I replied, the lies slipping from my mouth too easily. Dinner's nearly ready. She moved around the kitchen like always, hitting her marks with the same graceful rhythm. But this time, everything fell off. We designed this room together. Picking tiles, debating over cabinet finishes, fighting over countertop swatches. Every inch built from shared dreams. And now it felt haunted. I studied her, every motion, every detail. The way she poured the wine, the casual chop of vegetables, the light clatter of dishes on the table. All of it felt like watching a stranger perform an imitation of the woman I once knew. Dinner unfolded like a scripted act. We talked about meaningless things, the weather, her coworker's latest drama, that dripping faucet in the guest bathroom. Everything except what mattered. Every fake chuckle and hollow smile twisted my gut tighter. I couldn't block out the images forming in my mind. Her, wrapped up in someone else's arms. And now his scent lingered here, on her, in our kitchen, inside my world. I wanted to scream, to shatter plates, to tear the walls down until they gave up the truth. But I didn't. I kept quiet, letting something colder take root. This wasn't about suspicion anymore. I needed proof. Once she went upstairs to unpack, I quietly slipped away to the closet, the one place in the house that still felt untouched by lies. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for. Maybe I just needed space to breathe. That's when I saw it. Stuffed beneath a tangle of her winter scarves was something that didn't belong. A leather jacket. Not mine. Sleek. Pricey. Totally unfamiliar. I reached for it like it might bite. It reeked of sandalwood and something harsh and metallic, undeniably masculine. My fingers trembled as I held it. This wasn't paranoia. This was real. This was physical, undeniable evidence. Something that didn't belong in our home, unless someone else had been here. Or, closer still, someone had been near her. My head swam. The air felt heavy. My legs weakened as I stumbled back, letting the jacket fall to the floor like it had the answers I couldn't pry from her lips. I just stared until my vision blurred, and my chest ached from the weight pressing inward. I sank down, back against closet door, my pulse scattered like broken glass across the hardwood. No tears, no screams, just a hollow silence stretching wide inside me. Everything felt far away, as if I were submerged beneath ice. And within that deep, aching quiet, something else began to form, small, sharp, and clear as crystal. The following morning, I slipped the mask back on, got dressed like always, showed up to work. I answered emails, made small talk, even forced a laugh at some joke near the coffee machine. On the outside, I looked unchanged, but something deep inside me had shifted. A slow-burning fire had taken root beneath the calm surface, controlled, contained, waiting. She had no clue what was brewing beneath my silence. The grip she held over our lives had grown tighter, subtle but suffocating. It wasn't just the arguments anymore. It had crept into the ordinary, the small things, like laundry, She snapped at me again about mixing whites and colors, like I was a child. The sharpness of her tone stung more than it should have, but I kept my expression still, nodded, let her believe she'd won. Then Saturday came. I told her I'd be working late. A complete lie. Instead, I drove to the gym. I unleashed every bit of frustration onto the weights. Every repetition was a vow. Every breath a promise. I wouldn't unravel. I wouldn't let her betrayal drive me into chaos. I'd meet it with precision, with calm purpose. As the sun slipped lower, casting long streaks of gold across the skyline, I parked a few blocks away from her apartment. I knew her routine. I knew what time he would show up. I sat and watched from the shadows, my gaze locked on the reflective doors of her building. Then I saw him, tall, confident, wearing that same leather jacket, as if it made him untouchable. He walked like a man who believed he'd gotten away with it. I stepped forward, out of the dark. "Hey," I called, voice even and cool. He turned, already annoyed, already brushing me off. "I think you got the wrong guy." I reached into my coat pocket and held out reality, a photo I'd printed from her phone, his arm around her waist, her face glowing like the world disappeared when he touched her. His eyes flickered. Recognition, guilt, panic. "Nice jacket," I said quietly. "My wife seems to like your taste. Makes me wonder what else of mine you've tried on." He froze, unsure, looking for an escape. I didn't give him one. I dragged him into the alley. What followed wasn't polished or graceful. It was violent, fast, real. Every punch an outlet for months of buried pain. He barely resisted. His smug confidence shattered within seconds. By the end, he was gasping, hunched over, that jacket torn and useless. I crouched beside him, my voice low, sharp. "Stay away from her. Next time, I won't stop." Then I crushed his phone beneath my boot. The crunch was loud, like a bone snapping. When I got home, she was curled on the couch like nothing was wrong, like everything was perfectly fine. "Where were you?" she asked, irritation bleeding into her voice. I tried calling. I didn't reply. I walked straight to the bedroom, opened the closet, grabbed her suitcase, dropped it on the bed, then the jacket, then the photo. No words, just the truth, laid out like evidence. She froze. Her mouth opened, desperate to spin something. Anything. "It's not what it looks like," she stammered. "He's just a friend." It was a misunderstanding. But her words collapsed before they even reached me. They couldn't hold weight against what I already knew. "I'm done," I said, calm, unshakable. "You're leaving tonight." She broke, pleaded, promised to change. Tears streamed down her face. But none of it mattered anymore. Her crying didn't move me. Her begging didn't reach me. I stood firm. I wasn't there to soothe her. I wasn't there to fix it. She hadn't earned that. When she finally left, I stood by the door and watched her go. Not the woman I once adored, but someone else entirely. A stranger, stripped of illusion, walking away with everything she destroyed trailing behind her. The silence that followed was heavy, but it was honest. I didn't feel peace, not really, but I felt something stronger, control. She had shattered something inside me, but in the wreckage, I rebuilt. Clearer, sharper, unbreakable. And in that stillness, I stood, not as the man who'd been betrayed, but as the man who refused to be broken by it.